guys constantly want to talk about the marquee games. The Patriots-Bears, for example, has dominated this show today. The marquee games are the toughest games to win. Often you go off the board, and when I say go off the board, it's like going off the reservation. You look for the more obscure games because those lines aren't as sharp, they don't have as much betting action, and they're a hell of a lot easier to win.
What you said is key. As a former bookmaker, you should know out there, the reason what Al means when he says they're the hardest games to bet, it's because these games open up a week before. Sunday night, after all the games are over, you get the new lines for the next Sunday, and gamblers start betting on those games right then and there a week before they start. The marquee games take the most action during the week, so those lines are going to be the sharpest because they are going to most accurately depict public perception because more of the public has bet on those games than any other game on the board. So you're never going to find a real value. You may have a strong opinion on that game, and it may be right, but there's no value in the line on those games.
And often they're making you pay for what you anticipate as a good game and good value. Look at the Patriots game. We've talked about it nonstop. Patriots are a minus 3-point favorite, but rather than paying $1.10, you've got to pay $1.20 to $1.25 for the right to take and lay those 3 points with the Patriots on the road in this game. There's no value. We saw this in the Philadelphia-New York Giants game a couple of Sundays ago. Same thing, where the line was 3. Everybody was on Philadelphia. You had to lay $1.20 to $1.25. They happened to win and cover that game, but you're in the same situation here. So that's why I wanted to go and talk about a couple games that the callers, the audience, I can understand why you're not real interested in Oakland-Jacksonville. But, you know, this is a really good game, I think, to bet on today. It's a 4.5-point spread. Again, if the line crosses 3, 4, 7, or 10, most times 10. I like to buy down the half point for insurance. I think Jacksonville is a darn good play here. This is a hot team playing with confidence. You know, yes, they totally dominated a bad Tennessee team that's now lost 5 in a row last week, but you can't deny the fact that Maurice Jones-Drew has just been a man on a mission here lately. Last 5 games, he's averaged 133 yards a game, 5.3 yards per carry.
Yeah, and you take the perspective of Jacksonville, and you're right. And I look at Oakland here to make the same point as you. They've become like the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde of the NFL. And when they're home and playing near their home and they come with their A game, you know, they are Dr. Jekyll and opponents are going to lose. But when they travel, the further away they get, the softer they play. And I think that, you know, and you can just ask Tennessee and Pittsburgh, you know, to tell you about that story. And I think that now going all the way to the East Coast, to Jacksonville, I just think that that Oakland's going to come up short. I think Jacksonville is the play here, and I don't think you take last week, the way Oakland played in San Diego, into consideration whatsoever. One of the biggest mistakes that gamblers, laymen, make is that they bring the week before to the following week too much. If they lose with a team, well, that team owes them. If they win with a team, well, they ride that team. Each week is a separate week, and you really have to attack it separately or you'll get caught in that catch-up game.
It's like going to a New York Broadway show. Every performance is somewhat different. You can't allow the past to influence the future and how you're handicapping games. You know, you've mentioned something right there, Oakland. This game's a 1 o'clock Eastern Time kickoff. That's 10 a.m.
That's exactly right.
That is hard for West Coast teams. That's why historically West Coast teams have always traveled with difficulty to the East Coast. You look at this Oakland team, you know, they had to do that in their Week 1 game against Tennessee. They lost it 38-13. They had to do it against Pittsburgh, start early, 35-3. So those are their 2 trips to the East Coast already this year. Again, Jacksonville is playing some darn good ball here. Gave the Giants, I think they've won 3 of their last 4 games, and the only game they lost was the Giants, and that was a game they were up by 10 in the first half. Jacksonville is just playing well. I will give Oakland props for sweeping the season series against the Chargers, for really manhandling them last week. But this is still a one-dimensional team that can run the ball. And, you know, Jason Campbell's your quarterback, and I don't think I have to say much more than that.
Yeah, Chargers, an in-state rivalry, not a far trip for them. Yeah. You know, I just, you know, it's a different game, different situation.
And another game, a team that has been money in the bank. I mean, the Cleveland Browns aren't sexy. They aren't pretty. Right. They're coached by Eric Mangini, so that's 3 strikes against you already. And, of course, aren't we? We're on in Cleveland, so, you know, you can send that hate mail to Steve. Address it to him. Right. I didn't say that to you. But, you know,
There's a reason they call them the Cleveland Browns.
Yes. I was wrong last week. You know, I've been riding the Browns for a while and then going against them with success. I thought they wouldn't be able to deliver at Miami, but they certainly played played well. They dominated the Dolphins defensively. They harassed Chad Henne, intercepted him 3 times. Jake Delhomme, a nice, consistent, interception-free performance, and that's really, if Delhomme can manage the game, not forcing the ball, coming up with all those interceptions. Last week against Miami, 24 for 34, I think 213 yards, and they played so well. And, of course, Peyton Hillis has run for 962 yards. Buffalo, everybody was on the Bills bandwagon. I thought it was a big mistake. Last week's show, we had one caller after another saying, hey, the Bills have covered 6 straight games. I got to ride them at Minnesota.
We both loved Minnesota.
I told you they'd get blown out. I mean, let's not forget, this is a bad team.
Right. Listen, I give Buffalo a lot of credit for effort. They've really made a tremendous effort this year. But effort runs out when you don't have talent. And I think at this point, they're done. They can't they can't drum it up anymore just to lose at the end. That gets debilitating after a while. And I think the Bills are debilitated. I think Cleveland, they've beat some good teams on the road. I think to come in and beat Buffalo on the road is not so hard for them.
And it's going to be a boring game because I'm sure Eric Mangini, who earned his first ever win at the Cleveland Helm with an upset of the Bills last year, they're just going to pound the ball with Hillis because this Buffalo defense is one of the worst in the league in terms of stopping the run. They are 1-3-1 against the spread at home already this year, and in those 5 games, they're giving up 181 yards a game on the ground. So Peyton, not Peyton Manning. It's funny, for years I've sort of referred to Peyton as like I know him first name, and everybody thinks it's Manning. Peyton Hillis, get a lot of rest because, I hope that you had a good night's sleep because you're going to get the ball, I think, 30 times today. That's what I would certainly do in this game and just run it relentlessly. And again, Jake Delhomme, has been interception prone the past few years, but this is a Buffalo secondary. 22 touchdown passes allowed, only 8 interceptions recorded on the year, and they don't generate much of a pass rush either. So I think that's one of those little, last week it was Seattle. Yes. I said was kind of like one of those little under the radar games, and I think this is another one today in Cleveland.
Right, it's a boring game unless you have enough money on it. Then it's real exciting.
Let me tell you. And when you go to the Hilton or the Golden Nugget or any place and you go cash a winning ticket the next day, they don't say, I'm sorry, Mr. DeMarco, we're going to pay you less because it was a boring game.
Exactly.
There's only winners and losers in our business. And guys, make sure you take advantage of the free one-day all-access pass at picknation.com where you can get all the handicappers for free today. A one-day free trial. We're talking 13 handicappers, maybe $500-$600 of action for free. Hard for them to believe, but if you go to the site, you're going to see free really does mean free.
Right, and it's like we said, it's our best bets. It's not the type of games that we talk about on the show. We talk about every game on the show. These are the games that we single out as our best bets. You get every best bet from every handicapper on the site, all the analysis, everything that goes along with it. There is no deal like that on the internet. Only we can give it away like that because we are the only legitimate source on the internet for winners. We're willing to give it away so that people see what they get with us, and then they can make their own decisions going forward.
And the only guarantee that you will get is this, that come Monday, tomorrow, you're going to see on every single one of our pages, whether I won, whether Steve lost, every single handicapper will own up to the wins and the losses because, again, without integrity, we have nothing. That's why we're the largest online sports gambling community in the world, over 10,000 members worldwide. And also remember, if you missed any portion of the show, you can watch it in its entirety over at picknation.com. Again, I'm Al DeMarco, along with Steve Budin. We've got only a couple weeks left in this NFL season. Every Sunday, we break the games for you here on Pick Nation Report.